Welcome everybody. Hey, it's the live show. It's live at Epiphan. I'm George with Epiphan, and we got Nick here. Hey, Nick.
Hey, George, how are you? Happy Thursday.
That's right. Yeah. I'm just pulling up our YouTube channel right now so I can monitor the comments. So if you have anything you want to say to us, you want to yell at us in the comments, and we'll yell back maybe. But we have a nice show lined up for us today, and we're going to talk a lot about camera tech, which is something near and dear to my heart because I'm a lifelong photographer, videographer guy. How do you feel about camera tech, Nick? Does that get your
Oh
blood
man,
flowing?
it just gets me out of bed every day. Nothing better than going to a trade show and seeing 7 million cameras that are all the best cameras, by the way. They are always the best camera.
It is, yeah. There's never a shortage of like innovation and new cool stuff and really stupid stuff in the camera technology world. So we'll cover a bunch of it today. In fact, that's where we kind of start off. We kick things off because IBC just happened, which is the big European show where all the camera manufacturers come out and show their best stuff. You've been there a bunch, Nick, I'm guessing.
Actually, never been to IBC actually.
But
Been
that's right.
NAB on this side, but I'm more on that Pro AV side, less about the fancy cameras. So I'm excited to hear your analysis of this.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll get started right away. We've got one here. I've got it loaded up in a browser. The Zcam E2S6 Pro. So this camera just came out a couple of days ago. And if anybody here, do you know about Zcam, Nick? Is this in your wheelhouse at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we used them at our last event that we did. Nice unit.
They're an interesting, for me, I find their story pretty interesting because, you and I are about the same age, and we grew up with very huge Japanese manufacturers of cameras. You had
Yep.
the Canons, the Nikons, the Panasonics, and people like that. And it was like car companies. Like there was nobody coming in and making cameras, right? And then Zcam comes along and says, we can make all that same tech and sell it for half the price, which blew my mind. So we bought one a couple of years ago to put in our studio, and they're so feature rich and actually quite a delight to use. So we're fans of what they're doing, and I just like that anytime there's more disruptive tech in the industry, it makes life more interesting from everybody, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that innovation curve is really fascinating. And checking out their page and like seeing what they're doing also with some of their VR cameras and how there is innovation there, which is fascinating, right? It's not just a Me Too type of offering, which we'll, I think, talk about later.
Exactly. Yeah, they're doing stuff too that other camera companies haven't really been doing. Like they put a network port, a LAN port on their uh, first camera, so you could control it anywhere around the world, which is why we bought it because I wanted to set up an automated studio. That was part of our vision of being able to control everything remotely. And the first camera I could find who did it was this Zcam. I think you're starting to see that on more cameras, but they're also really agnostic. Like because they're not trying to sell lenses and hardware, they make their mounts for everybody. You can get an EF mount for anybody, and it's just like a brain, really. That's how I've seen people describe it. Just a big camera brain that you can do whatever you want with. It's got holes all over the side of it, so you can mount it to whatever you want with. And this new version comes with, it's not showing it here on the, this is actually the older version. They haven't even put the new one on their site yet, but it seems to come with a touchscreen monitor, so you can do a little bit more control on it because the control on it is an LCD about the size of a postage stamp. So it's not super fun to use, but highly capable. So that's
Well,
one
I,
end of the camera. Go ahead.
Yeah, too, I described those small screens as where some of the pro users will be familiar with as more of an oh shit screen, right? Where you're
Yes.
getting kind of a macro information about whether you're getting a feed or not, as opposed to having a secondary display where you can really dial in that focus and make sure you got it tight. But even with the small screen on there, I was really impressed at the trade show. It had some really intuitive, digital zoom functions that bring you in
Hmm.
close so you can get the subject, really get that focus locked in, jump back out. And again, having the network based, it's just the future, right? It's having Ethernet cable is so ubiquitous and so easy to set up.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, camera tech. We have a bunch more sort of range of camera tech to talk about. So this is on the cinema side. People who want to make really beautiful content. This is what they're going to start with here. Then we flip to the other end of the spectrum. $129, BRIO 500. This is a new camera that just came out also at IBC. Nick, you're pretty familiar. This is your way.
Yeah.
You've been dealing
Well, first
Logitech.
off, I feel like this is an NPR segment where I have to announce that I've been a longtime Logi supporter and friend through the years. I've done a lot of work with the team over there, and they've done a lot of innovation. This is an interesting device in the sense their real innovation is to reduce features. They've moved from a 4K sensor down to a 1080p sensor, and then they're trying to complement it with a bunch of additional software accoutrements, which, I got to tell you, those are all fun to talk about, but man, are they a pain in the ass to operate. Like having yet another, software open on your screen that you're trying to then navigate the camera settings as you're in the show to, it's all a bit much, but it does come in pink. That's nice.
I love well, they're beautiful looking cameras, I agree. And the fact that they went from 4K to HD is such a telling thing to me. Like, how much 4K stuff do you have in your house that you never ever will never ever use? Like, and so why not just own it and say, nobody really wants this 4K. Let's just put it at 1080p. You'll get better tech that way.
Well, and why spend the money for the sensor when it all looks like crap coming out the other side,
Yeah.
because it's all getting downgraded to 720 anyway, right? So like,
it was like giant speakers. Remember your giant? Remember it's basically 4K is the giant.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, my arm's not afraid that you would rock in 1989 because it was big and that's what you wanted, but it didn't sound any better than like the little tiny radio.
Come on, bigger's always better. I mean, that's why we got the Hemi engines and all the right. So it is an interesting. Another thing that's fascinating about this is the privacy aspect of it, and they're really pushing hard and marketing hard the idea that it has a physical cover for the sensor. So
what is it in? Can I see it on that picture there? Is it one of the? Where's the cover?
It like slides over across the lens there, so that
okay.
way somebody can't activate your camera when you're not present.
Okay.
So if we can have a follow-up discussion about paranoia and who's watching.
and like every good photography website, they have a really artificial image showing the before and after version, which I think we've done on our own website at times too. But
everybody does that, right? And it's 100% realistic.
There's a couple of other cool features on here, though. You talked about. Was it this one? Oh yeah, this one here. The flipping of the image, right?
Yeah, this is something we talked a lot about back in the day at Herman Miller. We did a lot of research around technology and people. We talked about like setting up personal cocoons. So, if you look at the way we array our desks, it tends to be kind of in a digital cocoon like this. And that ability to flip down and show analog content to complement digital share is something that's really interesting. I'm not sure if AMC's ready for this. I mean, he wasn't wearing pants during that interview, so it might be a problem for him to do that flip move. But as long as you're wearing pants, it's safe, right?
This is the pants. Yeah, it's gonna be a pants-friendly camera. Okay. There was some other cool stuff here. Oh yeah, there's the instant privacy. Zoop. Nice looking graphic. And then there's a couple of other cool things that caught my eye. Let's see if I can get to it in there in this page. I don't know where it is. Doesn't matter. The auto lighting features, the way it can automatically adjust your lighting. We'll see how well they do with that. Everybody
Yeah, I don't know if you remember from my previous home, I had that red ceiling in the room that I was in because it was a wood ceiling. And so being a little bit darker complected, it basically turned me into a Cheeto every time because I have the BRIO that I use as my USB cam. Not the beautiful setup I'm using today, but those. And by the way, hidden issue with that, I think a broader topic for another discussion is it shows a little bit how tech is biased towards Caucasians. When you bring in people of color, these things can really struggle to make people's skin tones look natural. And if we think about, the idea here is to minimize cognitive disruptions and have people look good, feel good, be good, that kind of stuff has a big play out on us. So, hopefully they're making advancements there because that is something that's important for the broader community.
It is important, and they're trying, like they're bringing in things like HDR, which theoretically would have an impact over, balancing out dark tones from light tones. How well it works in a little webcam like this, I don't know. I'm a total camera snob, right? Like I don't get too excited about webcams, but I realize hundreds of millions of people are using these things every day. So if they can be improved for hundreds of millions of people as opposed to 11 snobby people like me, that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Amen.
Next camera topic on the list are our friends at PTZ Optics have put out a new camera. And honestly, I don't know how to describe it. It's coming up here and it's different, right? It's got
it is. It's an interesting concept. Like I'm immediately drawn to the form factor and the idea, like that handle's so inviting from an industrial design perspective. And
yeah, it's like a child's drawing of a camcorder, like a little iPhone. I'm telling you.
Well, and the thing I love is that they're at least it's not a Me Too offering, right? They're trying to carve out some additional space in here and trying to really look at how do creators engage with the technology. Now, as an optics snob, you can tell me better than I would know. I think the challenge here is, can you actually get the depth of field? Because that's why the Z Cam, right? The professional cameras are so attractive because they give the depth of field. I'm using, by the way, a Canon M200. It's one of the favorites among staff. And that gives me that kind of nice background, that nice look, nice sharp. USB cameras have always lacked that capability because of the optics. I'm not sure how this may or may not solve that, but it's certainly got some compelling features in it.
It does. I don't think it will solve your depth of field issues. It says it does to achieve a bokeh effect here is what it says. However, unless you have, $500 lens on a camera, it's kind of hard to pull that off, but we'll see. You can do it in software too, like my Apple computer and my Apple devices now do the portrait mode, and I'm sure Android does that as well. Now I don't know, but that's a nice hack to be able to make that bokeh effect, which I like. But I find this camera, so it's HDMI, USB, and IP, so very much like appealing to a pro crowd, but also showing a picture of it here like on a gamer here trying to use it for this. So it's a mix of really high pro features like NDI, and even it does Dante audio and video. So it's got all these pro level features, but it's also a USB camera. So it's somewhere.
That's a fascinating device. I applaud the guys over at PTZ Optics for taking the swing at this, right? There are so many Me Too offerings out there that try to think about new form factors to really conceive of what this looks like for the marketplace. I'm excited to see how the reviews come out as people start to get it in their hands.
Exactly. It's got a light built on the top of it, so you can do everything you want with it. You can connect it to anything, so it's pretty powerful and capable of a lot of things. So let's go into our next segment. Let's do some grind my gears. We're talking about all this camera technology, Nick. What is your take on this flood of camera tech that we see endlessly? It's like the diaper industry, just constantly improving, even though it maybe doesn't improve. But
I did not expect you to go diaper industry direction there. I'll take that and run with it some ways. I still have one in diapers, so it's a scary proposition. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. Over the last few years, as we start to watch, obviously the explosion of video conferencing, USB devices, but also ODMs directly marketing to people, these trade shows are turning into like USB camera bonanza. I mean, at Infocom this summer, it was like you couldn't spit and hit 3 vendors that had a USB camera that was the best USB camera ever made. So I'm a little perplexed by this kind of mass explosion. I don't think it's doing service to any of the consumers out there. Frankly, everyone's claiming the same thing, yet we get totally different experiences depending upon which one we choose. And so I don't think it's good for anybody in the sense of it's going to create mass confusion. But I think we'll see a natural filtering as well that'll happen over time. But man, right now it's just messy.
It is messy, and it's interesting to me. They're still not nearly as sophisticated. All these camera manufacturers don't do half the things that your phone does.
Exactly. That's the funny part about it. I guess not funny. The ironic part is you can line up a bunch of these USB cams, throw them on your PC and use them, and then use your phone and have a better experience with what actually comes out the other side.
If you told me you wanted to get a good looking camera image for your office, I would say get a 3-year-old iPhone. Just use that. It's going to be 1,000 times better than any kind of webcam you could buy because of all the sophistication behind the software behind it. It's still kind of a janky setup, and it has to be very Mac exclusive, I guess. But
so, I mean, there you get to it, though, right? You either have the physical aspects of it where you're really going into a high end and you're bringing the lens into it, or you look at what Logitech's doing. It's exactly what you're saying. They're using software to complement and to add features and functionality to the tool while actually reducing the capability of the hardware because they found that it doesn't matter. And so there's a lot of interesting kind of changes that are occurring inside the marketplace. But the problem is to find the 3 interesting conversations, you got to sort through the 6,000, just USB off the street type stuff. So that's hopefully we can start to get more focused as an industry on real performance.
I think so. I think we've got a long way to go. I'm still as much a fanboy as ever, and I will be for a while before all of this settles in on just 16 multi-lens cameras on everything, and then we're set. But let's change gears. Let's move away from cameras for a little bit and talk about software. Some of the software that people use some of these great photos in. So there was an acquisition this past week of Adobe bought Figma for $20 billion.
Boy.
Hey,
Billion? Holy
yeah. You
snakes.
remember when we were here a month ago talking about how Frame.io got bought by Adobe for 5 billion, and we
Yeah.
all couldn't believe like 5 billion for Frame.io, this little company, and now we're 3x that at 20 billion for another
Every,
relatively small company.
everybody gets a McLaurin. Everybody gets a McLaurin.
Exactly. Yeah. Immediately following that, Adobe's, it's been a weird reception. Have you seen some of the media on this?
I haven't been close to it. I've been in a media blackout, all thanks social media, for the last couple months. So
That's a healthy place to be. Let me unblock you out for a minute here.
perfect. Let's
So
do it.
all the people who own Adobe stock were upset. So their stock went down 20%, something like that, because they thought you just overpaid tremendously for an asset.
Sure.
All the Figma customers were a Figma customer. In fact, I have a little prototype open right now on my screen showing some of the stuff we do. We're designing, Epiphan Connect, which we'll talk about in a minute. All of the UI has been designed in Figma for that, and it's an incredible tool. So people who love Figma are nuts about it. It's a beloved tool, as far as I know. I don't know anybody who says I'm not such a Figma fan. Everybody knows who uses Figma loves
Oh,
it.
and it had a tremendous impact. I mean, like you talk about disrupting the way people work and the application of labor. Figma's like they've so radically transformed the way that we do software development as a global like collective, right? They just push things into a new boundary, and it's incredible. It's an incredible suite of tools. I'm sure the fanboys are all terrified about what Adobe's going to do to the pricing.
That's a big part of it. Yeah, it's not so much the pricing of it, but they will make you buy more than just Figma. They will say,
Oh
sure,
yeah.
we're going to bundle it with 6 other things. And all those things are great. I mean, Illustrator and Photoshop, things like that as far as I know, they're still the best at what they do.
Yeah, best at what you do if you've got the money to spend on it. I think there's an
Yeah.
accessibility challenge here. I also think, this continued SaaS model and obviously we participate, everybody participates in it. It's a little bit matter of how much can everybody bear though, right?
Yeah.
Like, Adobe's a juggernaut, right? Watching what they've done over the last, decade as far as digital transformation and really owning platform. And you see it playing out here is they want all the entry and exit points to digital creation. And so once they own that space, people are right to be a little bit scared. I mean, dare we use the word antitrust?
Yeah. I've never
Too
seen any
big?
try in a creative industry like that, but yeah, we're there. Hmm.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of that stuff to sort out over time here as a lot of these platforms will fundamentally own uh, large masses of kind of people and how they participate and is there competitive. What does
Hmm.
that even mean in a global economy, right? Like there's a lot of interesting things as we start to think about how this impacts future.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm curious to see how it all plays out. But for now, it's okay. We still got Figma on its own, and we still got all the Adobe tools. And
I'm still trying to figure out how to just open damn PDFs in an efficient way since Adobe made even basic PDF viewers part of their subscription package. Like, I mean, they are unabashed in what they want to charge for everything,
you
and
can't
it's
open a
it's.
PDF in your Chrome.
I mean, you can, but I'm saying like, if you want to do anything beyond opening it and doing some
Yeah.
basic functionality, you got to buy that DC, Adobe reader. And again, it's always fascinating to me, having been, in an interesting seat during this journey of digital transformation, Industry 4.0, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Just look at the pattern of the things that we used to kind of get. Now we pay for not once, but pay for every day in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, it's going to be. I hope they can leave Figma alone. Now, to Adobe's credit, they have done a really great job historically of not screwing up people's software when they bring it in. So,
Well, don't
um,
forget they were one of the first people to do the. They moved from Creative Suite as a $600 behemoth that you bought and you
yep,
used it for 4 years, and that was the standard way everybody used software for most. They were one of the first companies to say we're going to switch to a
yep.
cloud-based, not even cloud-based, just a subscription model. People went crazy. Like everybody was pirating Adobe like mad, and they stayed true to it. And then now we all just do the $10 a month or the $20 a month or the whatever a
Hey,
month.
I'll tell you what though, man. Go look at the secondary market for software that has no expiration.
Oh, really?
I'm a CAD guy, so I as a
Yeah.
mechanical engineer trained in AutoCAD. You got to go back to like AutoCAD. I don't think it's like 2016 was the last time you could get kind of a perpetual license. You
Yes.
check out on eBay, there's a lot of people that are selling those perpetual license keys because for folks that want to be thrifty, maybe I don't, for me as a perfect example, I don't value any of the new features of AutoCAD, right? I don't know how to use them. My training's
Yes.
still stuck back in the previous version. So to know that I could use AutoCAD for the rest of my life, like I've been checking out eBay for some
Yeah,
used
that's
software.
fascinating. Well, nobody does a pricing model based on I want to use it 4 times a year. Like,
Right.
there's nothing you can buy 4 times a year. It's like, no, you have to
Yeah.
use it 6 times a month to get any value out of it.
Yeah, it does become a barrier. It's and over time, I suppose they'll figure those things out. Maybe it is a more usage base for the rookies in the room that just want to dabble once in a while. SketchUp's another great example of
Yeah, they'll
that. Like,
find a way to make their money.
oh, yeah, they always do.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's use that as our transition into our news, which is about our software and where we're going. So we gave you a little preview here of behind the scenes of how we made Epiphan Connect. Well, on the 27th of September, which is, geez,
Next
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah,
That's
it's coming up,
awesome
George. You
news.
better be ready.
Because there's a lot of work we got to do to get ready for this thing, because this is a big event for us. Nick, why don't you tee it up here? What are we doing on Tuesday?
Yeah, I feel like we're like barnstorming here. First off, what we're going to do is we're going to do a 15-minute event. Okay, we respect everyone enough to say that if we can't explain this in 15 minutes, it's not a good tool. And those 15 minutes are going to be action packed. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try to bring some guests on. We're going to have some experts to talk to. We'll do a demonstration, and we'll really bring this to life. And in fact, we're actually making today's show using the tool. I mean, George, dare I suggest you bring Microsoft Teams over to the screen real quick, and we'll give a preview to the folks that joined us today. We're sharing content right now via Epiphan Connect. We're using Microsoft Teams, and we're using the tool to create and share right now in the background. And so we'll do a little bit of a window in a window for us as he pulls that up. But here you can see kind of me inside the screen. Talking right now, all the different documents he's got up. And we're using Microsoft Teams as the extraction point. So capture card, mentioned Canon M200, light ring, Bob's your uncle, you're up and running. And we can use it to share content. We can use it to extract individual isolated video feeds. And we're going to share that with everybody on Tuesday. We'll bring some people in from the audience. We'll bring some experts in. We'll do a demonstration and get you in and out. And hopefully, what we think is really exciting about this is we're unlocking the power of hybrid with an actual hybrid technology. Right? This is all cloud-based. It works with Microsoft Teams, and it's an exciting development in the kind of broadcast and pro AV world.
Right on. We'll be there. 15 minutes. That doesn't sound like a very long time. I'm excited about that. It'll be a sweaty 15 minutes because we're going to be hustling to try to bring some energy into the room and make a good show. But I'm looking forward to it.
Well, for those of you that have done live events, and I'm sure there's a lot that are listening today, 1-minute segments are very tight. And we're going to try to run 15 1-minute segments, get through this with a lot of energy, show off the skills and the tool, and ultimately, of course, always lead to a good after party, right? Any good launch party needs a good after party for people to come in and ask questions and participate. So it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Nice. All right. Well, that kind of wraps us up. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We're back here in 2 weeks. We're here every other Thursday at 3 o'clock. So thanks, Nick. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks. Cheers.